Individual, sole proprietor, or LLC. Choosing the right business type. When you set up Stripe, Stripe asks you to pick a business type in the first 5 minutes of setup. Here's how to choose the one that actually fits your creator business. You're mid-sign-up, ready to sell your first ebook, and Stripe stops you with a drop-down. Individual, sole proprietorship, or company, LLC, corporation, etc. It looks like a formality. It isn't. This one click shapes what name shows up on your buyer's bank statement, what documents Stripe asks for, how you'll file taxes, and whether you'll redo verification later as your business grows. Most creators guess here, fine most of the time, except when it means a mid-payout hold or a name mismatch that delays your first payday. This guide breaks down what each option actually means in practice, so you can pick with confidence and get back to building your store fan page. What Stripe is actually asking, and why it matters. When you connect Stripe to accept payments through your store, Stripe must verify who is being paid. Standard, know your customer, compliance, every payment processor follows, not something store, fan, or Stripe invented to slow you down. The business type you select tells Stripe which documents to request and which name goes on year-end tax forms in the US, typically a 199K. Pick individual and Stripe verifies you personally. Legal name, date of birth, address, and SSN. Pick sole proprietorship and Stripe may also ask for a trade name, DBA, or an EIN, but the underlying legal entity is still just you. Pick company and Stripe expects formation documents, an EIN, and beneficial owner details, because now it's verifying a separate legal entity, not a person. Not legal or tax advice. This article explains how Stripe's onboarding categories generally work so you can make an informed choice. It isn't a substitute for advice from a licensed accountant or attorney, especially once your revenue grows or you're weighing whether to form an LLC. Individual. The default for most solo creators. If you haven't filed any paperwork with your state, no LLC, no DBA, nothing, you are, in the eyes of most tax authorities, already operating as an individual doing business under your own name. This is by far the most common setup for creators selling their first digital product, course, or coaching call, and Stripe's individual option is built exactly for this case. Verification is fast. Your legal name matching your ID, your address, and your SSN or ITIN. There's no business bank account requirement, no separate tax ID, and nothing to undo if you later decide to formalize. The trade-off is that everything is legally tied to you personally. There's no liability separation between you and the business, which matters more once you're doing serious volume, hiring help, or holding significant contracts, but rarely matters at the launch stage. Sole proprietorship. Same you, different label. A sole proprietorship is legally identical to operating as an individual. No state filing creates it. No separate entity exists. But it becomes the more accurate Stripe selection once you've taken two specific steps. Registered a trade name, a doing business as or DBA, so you can operate under something other than your personal name, or obtained an EIN. Employer identification number, from the IRS to use instead of your SSN. If you've done either of those, select sole proprietorship, so Stripe's records and any tax forms line up with what you've actually registered. If you haven't done either, individual is the more accurate choice. Picking sole proprietorship without a DBA or EIN just means re-entering your personal name and SSN anyway, with an extra step in between. Company, LLC or corporation, only if you've actually filed. This is where creators most often jump the gun. An LLC feels more official, so it's tempting to select it as an aspirational upgrade even before the paperwork exists. Don't. Stripe will ask for your EIN and, depending on your state, formation documents or a certificate of good standing. And if those don't exist yet, verification will fail or stall, which can delay your very first payout. Select company only after your LLC or corporation is actually registered with your state and you have an EIN in hand. If you're weighing whether to form one at all, it's usually a conversation for a tax professional once you're consistently making meaningful revenue, not a box to check on day one out of excitement. How the choice shows up later. The business type you select doesn't just affect the onboarding screen. It follows your account through payouts and reporting. The name Stripe has on file is generally what appears on your buyer's bank or card statement next to the charge, which matters for reducing confused disputes. I don't recognize this charge, down the line. It's also the name that ends up on year-end tax forms if your volume crosses reporting thresholds, so mismatches between what Stripe has and what you actually file taxes under can create annoying reconciliation work. None of this affects how store.fan delivers your products. Automatic delivery, download links, course access, and meeting links all work identically no matter which business type you pick, because store.fan connects to your own Stripe account and payments flow straight to you, not through a platform wallet you'd need to withdraw from. Confirm whether you've filed any LLC, corporation, or DBA paperwork with your state. If not, individual is your answer. Have your legal name, current address, and SSN. It's ready to match your government ID exactly. If you have a DBA or EIN, have the documents on hand before selecting sole proprietorship. If selecting company, have your EIN and formation certificate ready. Verification will pause without them. Double-check spelling of your legal name against your ID. Small mismatches are the cause of verification delays. Bookmark FAQ, the FAQ, for other setup questions before you go live. Pick the box that matches the paperwork you actually have today, not the paperwork you're planning to have someday. When it's worth upgrading, there's no single revenue number that means now form an LLC, but a few practical signals tend to prompt creators to have that conversation with a professional. Consistent monthly revenue that's now a meaningful chunk of household income, taking on contracts or partnerships where liability separation matters, or wanting a cleaner split between personal and business banking for tax prep. If you do form an entity later, updating Stripe is straightforward. You go back into your account settings, switch the business type, and provide the new documentation. It's a bit of paperwork, but it's far less painful than an incorrect selection blocking your first payout. Either way, your storefront, products, and customer list carry over untouched. None of that lives inside Stripe. It lives in your store.fan dashboard. The bottom line. This drop-down feels bigger than it is, but the fix is simple. Match your selection to the paperwork you actually hold today. No filings? Individual. A DBA or EIN without incorporation. Sole proprietorship. An actual LLC or corporation on file with your state. Company. Get this right, and Stripe verification clears in minutes. Your payouts flow on schedule, and you can focus on what actually grows a creator business. A page that converts, products that deliver instantly, and a link worth putting in your bio. If you haven't yet, check out a live example store to see what a finished setup looks like, or browse the blog for more guides on getting paid without the friction. Key takeaways. Stripe's business type is about verification and reporting, not a legal filing you're making right then. It should match what you've already registered or haven't. Individual is the default and correct choice for most creators who haven't formed any legal entity. No separate paperwork needed. Sole proprietorship fits creators using a DBA trade name or an EIN without incorporating. It's still legally the same as you personally. An LLC or corporation is only accurate if you've actually filed formation paperwork with your state. Selecting it without that can trigger failed verification. You can change your business type later as you grow, But doing it right the first time avoids payout holds and re-verification headaches. Start your creator store free at store.fan.